It's part 20 of the Dark Elves Abridged. Last time had some annoying trouble with Chaos coming back again and raising a bunch of my stuff, but broadly things were going nicely with our offensive. I progressed over into the Elven Island and took one of their high level fortresses, which we're now going to use as a base to try and annoy them further. First, a spot of news from back home. The Chaos army that was marauding around was caught at last by Shadesman, just went after them in the sea, and got this battle in the end with an uncertain balance bar, but I really didn't want to do this. I was just going to beg to the gods that it would let me take this one for free, and we did. There we go. So Chaos are defeated, and things are a bit better at home, although there are also some Bretonnian forces nearby, some Caron forces, so we will be back to that. But in the meantime, I was thinking, what can we do with Lockyer? And what I want to do is take the Elven capital at Lothern. That's going to be an issue because as I sneak over there, it's stacked up to the max. They've got probably a full stack garrison and 2 regular full stacks. So that location is the most heavily defended place we've ever seen in this campaign. So seeing that, I was like, right, this isn't going to happen. So I rushed back in case they suddenly came at me with all the stacks. We're probably safe because we'll have another full stack on our side of garrison if we stay where we are. As for an offensive, I probably need some help, and that's where Miss Missiles here is going to come into things. First, I'm going to take down this random marauding set of orcs that was harassing my Black Arcs early in the campaign. And now I am going to focus on bringing her over to join with Lockyer, because I think we are going to need 2 stacks to make some progress against the elves, given what we've seen so far. By the next turn, I'm ready to sail over, but it looks like the elves have showed up as well. One of their fleets has appeared nearby, and that's going to stop me from having an easy landing. So I set up here thinking, well, I guess we'll just have to fight them if they do come at us. Our army's going to be okay, so not too worried about that. Meanwhile, Lockyer is going for the ambush strategy. We want them to attack the town and then get screwed over, ideally, before we attack them. That would be the best way to go about taking down the enemy's hefty defences near their capital. Here comes their turn, and their fleet does go towards Miss Missiles. Or does it? It actually sneaks through her and attacks the arc behind her. Still the same battle, you could say, but this is technically a lot worse than if they just attacked Miss Missiles, because her army, with all of its bolt throwers, is going to rely on being set up on the battlefield as the fight starts, so it's much less effective as reinforcements. Plus we get this not very good map, because I guess we're technically fighting on top of the Black Arc or something. So I wasn't really sure about this, and ended up thinking, while we do have the army I'm going to use to fight the elves, I'm not going to fight them here and like this, so I retreat. Luckily they don't pursue and take out the arc or anything like that, so we can come back to this in our turn. But I should also mention what's going on with Caron. I think they have 1 army currently besieging the Blood Swamps in our territory, and there were 2 more on the way. But at this point, those 2 armies or fleets go back, probably going back to deal with something else over in their home territory, so I'm guessing we've been spared some trouble. Shadesman in particular spared the trouble, and that's really for the best because we also have the end/beginning of another Chaos thing. Another message pops up saying Chaos are dead, and then mentioning as an afterthought that they're also alive, so we're probably going to fight some more Chaos soon enough. But for now, we can now set up the battle that I was looking to get, where Miss Missiles is the leading force against the Elven fleet. And this time we have a better map too. It's the same map we saw before for a naval battle, where we can deploy behind some water to make better use of our ranged advantage. So here I am, sat next to the water. We're going to have the same issue as before though, and that is the enemy are just sitting on their side of the map. I need them to attack me. And they're starting to do it, and that's just because I've sent a dragon forwards to be annoying. Miss Missiles was hanging out in the forest and kind of being near the enemy's range, tempting them to come forwards, just like I've been using in my Shogun 2 campaign recently as well. Only here the entire enemy army comes forwards after a while as well. I was concerned that they had a bolt thrower, and I don't have any easy way to go over there and take it out, so I started throwing out all of my Black Arc abilities, hoping to either destroy the pieces or kill enough crew to stop them shooting at me. One thing that helps me here is I actually have 2 Cain's Lashes, because I have 2 Black Arcs, one with the level 3 version and one with the level 2 version. They count as separate abilities, whereas for the other ones, because both arcs have the level 3 version, you only get 1. So there's a kind of unintentional, I guess, exploit or something, where if you have a Black Arc all fully upgraded, another one medium upgraded, and another one not upgraded, you can get like a whole bunch of different Black Arc abilities to spam out throughout the battle. Perhaps worth trying. Anyway, as for the plan, we're just going to stand here and see how much stuff we can kill before they get to our lines, and our lines are really just the shades with the odd distraction in front. We are lacking for distractions in this army, and we just lost a whole bunch of our distractionary spears there to an enemy dragon breath attack. They've got dragons attacking both flanks. The Phoenix does some sort of defecation bomb thing that I haven't seen before, killing off the rest of those spears. In the center, that's where the enemy will struggle because their infantry will just get shaded to death as it crosses the water. That other dragon on our right flank was netted for a while, so we delayed their attack. Now for the infantry, I went out with my newly Pegasus up Fire Sorceress, threw out a Vortex and a Skull. This Skull was very nearly genius. Its area of effect is a bit less than it looks, so what actually happened here is it went through a bunch of gaps between the enemy's lines without really touching the lines very much. That was a shame. If I cast it like 1 second earlier or 1 second later, I think we would have got a whole load of damage with that. But we don't necessarily need that damage right here, we're going to do fine. So while we are taking a bit of ranged fire, and the enemy are reaching our Shades line due to our lack of distractions, the balance bar is starting to look better and better, and broadly the enemy are going to get killed across the map. A lot of our ranged units are still firing, and missiles never miss, and they have some sort of buff. I've forgotten what it was, but they're better in some way. So here we are a bit later. Everything has routed, and now we're going to want to pick up as many kills as we can as they go away, since we're going to need to fight them again immediately after, basically, to get past this army as we sail towards the Elf Island. I never remember what that island's called, but anyway, we do kill a load of stuff real easily because they're still in our range as they route, so we wipe out units, and here's the result. We lost no units, they lost a lot of units, so we're in business. I do need to actually go south to attack them again, so that's the annoying thing here. I'm going to end up having not moved towards my goal, meaning we're now like 2 more turns away from having missiles be in a position to help Lockyer. I'm actually going to go even more south here in order to grab some replenishment for this turn. But yes, the plan isn't really going ahead as quickly as I thought. But that elven army not being around will probably make the plan better once it finally does happen. Now this next wave of chaos looks like it's about to arrive. We actually still haven't finished off the previous wave because they've recruited a new horde while they were here. And there it is, still just hanging out in our territory. I've got this little army that I was building up to go and take it out. Annoyingly, I can't get there this turn. And this army might have to try and hold out against the other chaos waves as well, because Shadesman isn't nearby at the moment. I'd sent him up north to go after that army of trolls that was harassing me previously. And by the way, I mentioned there was a Bretonnian army besieging our territory. I'm pretty sure there was, I didn't see it in the footage, but at some point it must have died or left. Not really sure what happened, but either way, we didn't lose anything. We got rid of that army somehow. And now Shadesman will try to get Poxmarsh back for us, while Miss Missiles plows on to help Lockyer. But actually with Lockyer, I realised I might as well move over here, because it seems to be that the Skaven have been on a rampage. One place has been razed, or perhaps it is now a Skaven settlement, and this place in front of me has recently been sacked, so there's no garrison, meaning we can steal it. So that's good, and this is the other region in the province that has Vol's Anvil in it. So that's handy. Now we have a whole elven province to ourselves, but with the way the mountains are set up, we can't get to all those interior ones that are undefended, so we're still kind of stuck where we are, and going through Lothar and where the capital is probably the best way to advance, even if I wasn't planning on going there just for the sake of revenge. Now the troll skulls come at me with all of these trolls and their skulls, and they've got a bunch of giants as well. They have 4 regular giants and 2 Cygors, which are like artillery giants. So that's a bit troubling. Their range is pretty similar to the range on my bolt throwers, so I was worried they would sit back and just kill me. As for all of the trolls, well, I thought their balance bar presence seems to be pretty good, but they do have low morale, so maybe we can rout them with a bombardment of bolts. The map gives us a hill towards the back that we can deploy on for that purpose, so that is nice. Here I am good to go. So we've got this nice valley here. We can shoot the enemy as they're down there and coming up the hill and see what we can do. But their Cygors can hit us from the other side of the valley, and this is worrying. Luckily, this first volley both hit a tree stump there, so I think that might have reduced the damage they did to my poor dread spears. But yes, there's not an enormous amount we can do about them throwing stones at us to begin with, but we are going to make some efforts as we go on. In the meantime, here they come. A massive wave of trolls starts running towards us, and this whole battle hinges on what we can do before they get to us, and they're going to obviously outclass us in terms of melee stuff. We need to try and get some routes and some kills as they go up the hill. Running down the hill proves fast enough, but at least now they're closer, we should be more accurate. Looks like their rocks are now targeting my shades, which is not very good since that will reduce our damage potential. I've also got my bolt throwers in single bolt mode, and I was trying to focus down the enemy giants. Obviously they're a nice slow big target that I thought the bolt throwers would be really good for bringing down. The issue is, well, they're not that good, because not only are they not quite accurate enough to always hit them despite them being big targets, but they just don't do that much damage even in single bolt mode, / the giants have tons of health. There you can see I'm sending my harpies to go and distract the Cygors to try and stop them from shooting at me. And here at the top of the hill, things haven't worked. The enemy's mass wave of trolls did reach my line. We didn't rout them or kill very many of them. So actually we're in trouble. We don't have enough distractionary units to keep them at bay, and the ones we do have won't last that long. At least while they're lasting, we can keep shooting the trolls with the shades, and I'm sure that's doing good damage. Things are particularly high pressure on our left, where loads of trolls are slamming our dread spears. The dread spears of course do have bonus damage against the trolls. They're just not very good, so it's a bonus on top of a small number, meaning it doesn't do all that much. And yes, now the giants are starting to gradually come into the fight. They're being absolutely hammered with tons of stuff, but they're strong enough to take it, and they can get into melee with the shades. And that's bad news, because now our damage against them will be much, much slower. On our right, I've got the dragon helping out and doing quite well actually at beating back the trolls. The dragon can kill the trolls quite easily, and we do see some routes there. In the center too, looks like some troll units are starting to rout away. This is what we need. It's just a bit too late. We've already got giants smashing our shades to pieces. There's an orc war boss in there as well towards the middle. I'm using now the bolt throwers. They're going to be key because they can target those easy to hit giants right in front of them and try to take them down. It's just the same problem from earlier, that the bolt throwers aren't actually that powerful, or the giants are surprisingly resistant against something you might think is the ideal unit for taking down a giant. On our left, I've summoned a manticore to try and deal with the trolls, but the manticore seemed to get stun locked, so it didn't really do very much and actually got honed up. I've got another summoned manticore fighting the Cygors, and that was going pretty well actually, along with the harpies. The harpies did surprisingly well against them. I sent my Reaver to take out their war boss. This was key because that guy's increasing enemy morale, so if we get rid of him, might be easier to rout the lowish morale trolls. He unfortunately runs away before we kill him, and then the adjacent giant ice breaths the Reaver and he goes down, so that's nasty. At least the giant routed as well and is nearly dead too. So I do want to take out that orc war boss if we can to get a morale penalty, although I think they do get some morale penalty from seeing him run away as well. Things are going badly on the left. We've lost not only our distractions but the shades as well. So now they're starting to come down the line. They're even attacking the bolt throwers, further reducing our offensive potential. We need those bolt throwers to do something about the giants, as the giants are also gradually working their way down the line. Things were better on the right, but they're only better for now because we routed the enemy away. And now they're going to come back, meaning the extra firepower we have coming from the right will only be lasting a few seconds. Soon they need to turn and go back into melee with the trolls. Looks like that giant's routing, nearly dead as well, but we've got another one still with a lot of health to bring down, and the rate at which we're bringing down the health is lowering and lowering as more bolt throwers get taken out. This Cygor's back in action because the manticore that was about to kill it despawned due to the timeout. The harpies routed their Cygor opponent, and I think they're chasing him off the field right now. I've got my dragon focusing down the orc war boss because I really wanted that kill, as I said, and we do get it right there, although it doesn't have a massive effect. A lot of the troll units on the field are really high level, and that increases their leadership, and all it needs to do is increase it above the 0 threshold once all the things are stacked together, so that they don't rout when they're usually supposed to rout in the balancing, and you can't kill them. So that's that, and we are suffering at the hands of these trolls quite a bit. Even when the trolls are down to just a few guys in the unit, they're still fighting us. This is pretty nasty. All we can do is hope for the best. The balance bar's in our favour, but it's hard to say what that really means, whether it's taking into account that my Reaper Bolt throwers will actually hit, or whether it's taking into account the fact they're in combat with a giant and might just die. Well, as things move on, it does get better and better. We've barely got anything left, but the enemy were seeing a lot of routes and shatters at this point, and the last bunch of trolls and a giant do gradually get killed by a couple of units being unengaged and shooting at them, and indeed the return of the dragon. With this, everything chain routes, and we've just about won this fight with only some scraps of our army left over. We want to pick up some more kills as they go, in particular taking out the giant so it doesn't appear again back on the campaign map. And that's that. We've won the battle, but it was a Pyrrhic victory as it says, and it's actually worse than that really. Check out the results. Their trolls are really alive, and this is the thing I've mentioned a few times in this campaign. You can bring the enemy's unit health down very far so they rout, but if you didn't kill models, they keep their health on the campaign map. Whereas our units are straight up dead because they got wiped out to the last man in many cases fighting the trolls in melee. So actually, we won the battle, but we lost way more troops than the enemy. The enemy barely lost stuff at all, so this is worse than a Pyrrhic victory. Let's call it a shady victory after Shadesman. Very bad, and that means we can't follow up and finish them off. We actually have to retreat as if we lost that battle strategically. Looks like Chaos are setting up for another bit of shenanigans at Mangrove Coast. That place has been raised a fair few times now. Perhaps it's going to happen again.
What now?
Shadesman is getting out of there, as I mentioned. We can't go after the trolls. They're still looking good, and we've lost half our army. So I go back and just hang out to replenish and re-recruit. Annoyingly, here in this province we don't have the building to make Shade's dual weapons, so I can't actually get my proper army back. I'd rather go in for the next wave before their surviving giants go back to full health. So, I'm just going to make a trash army, or a half trash army. We'll fill out all of the gaps with things I can recruit quickly and cheaply, and just try to finish those trolls off. Surprisingly, they are now the ultimate final boss of this campaign for some reason. At least we had some good progress against Chaos in that the second Chaos invasion is now officially defeated with that little auto-resolve. Just in time for the third one. I don't want to fight them at Mangrove Coast, so I'm trying to move away here. I'd rather fall back, get more troops, and then go back in and fight them another time, but we'll see what happens with that. We've also now got missiles arriving at Falls Anvil, so here we are, ready to do some offensive action against Lothern. I've got Lockyer ambushing outside, and this almost created something. This army does come right at us. I thought it would be ambushed, but no, it saw me. It was just going for a battle. And for whatever reason we can't get reinforcements here, so we're going to not do that. Lockyer falls back, and it looks like they're going to plow in and fight me anyway, but actually they just set up a siege and then reinforce with another stack. So everything's here now. It's time for a decisive battle against these elves. We have a couple of choices about how to do this. The first thing we'll probably want to do is attack the besieging army first, because that means the garrisons can come out and help. But that said, maybe they can't actually, because we need to decide whether to use Lightning Strike here. We can not do Lightning Strike, and it will be 3 of our armies versus 2 of theirs, but because of the unit cap we'll actually only get 2, so it will be a 2-on-2 fight. Or we can use Lightning Strike and make it a 1-on-1 fight, which only has the advantage of being easier to control. But then I saw the map. It's a choke point battle. So with this in mind, I started thinking a 1-on-1 will be easier because we don't have to deal with the potential that if we bring in reinforcements, they'll be like on the other side of the choke point and they won't be able to set up to shoot into it, or something like that will happen. So I ended up deciding to go with 1-on-1 so that we know we're going to be on opposite sides of the choke point and we can take advantage of it. Although that said, the enemy are defending, so really it's them trying to take advantage of the choke point, and we have to not let them do so. Because our deployment zone was so far away from the choke point, we can't really shoot them as they go through, but we can at least force them to go through. By doing that, I threw out a Sword of Cain using Lockyer, and that kind of disrupted them enough that it turned off their defensive AI and caused them to come to my side of the map, where I'm sitting on a nice little hill and we're just going to do the usual strategy. It worked better than expected actually, because their phoenixes came out way ahead of the rest of the stuff, so we can fight the phoenixes on their own. Perfect. Loki is going to do plenty of damage to that icy phoenix, the frost phoenix. And as for the fire phoenix, well, everything's going to be shooting at it. We've got tons of shades shooting at close range, and even though they usually miss because the phoenixes are jumping all over the place with their animations, we can grab enough hits to finish them off, especially with a net involved. Now it can't move around quite so much, and that phoenix very quickly is killed. So there we have it, both phoenixes are defeated, and the rest of the enemy army is yet to do anything, and it's actually going to get even better from here because most of their troops started turning to the left after going through this choke point. That's because I guess they want to go and attack this chariot for some reason. I put my chariot over there to act as a distraction, and it worked way better than I expected. So actually, we're going to have a little mini battle now against just a couple of enemy units. These dragon princes take a whole bunch of bolts on the way in. They do have missile block chance and a ton of armor and stuff, so I'm sure they can take it for a bit, but soon they've hit our breakwater, the Hydra. They're being shot in the back, and one of the other Hydras set them on fire as well, doing some magical elemental damage or something, which probably counters their high-level units' defensive stats in some way. And they're gone. Meanwhile, most of their forces still not paying any attention to the fight, and the few units that are in the fight are going to be rapidly killed by our massive line of shades. They're not even going to get close. Easy stuff, and the bolt throwers of course as well. They've got a commander back here sniping away at us, but that's not going to last very long. I hit her with the guided fireball thing to start the damage, then I bring in Lockyer to come down with this ominous shadow and take her out. I think I also used the net here because it looked like she could get away from this situation, but no, and I think it was a 2 or 3 hit kill to bring her down, easy peasy. Now we are totally winning this battle. The remaining enemy forces did start coming over to fight, but the enemy's army losses now are high enough that we don't need to kill many of them to cause them to rout. That balance bar's looking great. One of my Black Arc cauldrons blew up half of the enemy in this forest where they were grouped together. And yes, at this stage, they are routing even with a lot of health left. We have won this battle with barely a battle at all, just a few little skirmishes where we wiped out the enemy piecemeal. That might just be the best fight we've seen so far. An excellent start to our campaign on the Elven capital. We're going to be at full health for next time, where we'll need to go up against the other enemy army, but we can use our 2 armies to do so. And yes, then we'll push on towards Lothar. The other thing I want to do is grab revenge on those trolls, so look forward to those battles in part 21.